Nestle has been in Sri Lanka for over 100 years. We have been committed to enhancing the lives of the local community since the very beginning. We purchase hundreds of thousands of liters of milk from 18,000 farmers every day. Committed to increasing fresh milk production in Sri Lanka, we help local dairy farmers produce milk that meets our high-quality standards. Nestle, empowering Sri Lankan dairy farmers.
මේ අයවැය ඔක්තෝබර් මාසේ ගේන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවද කියලා. නොවැම්බර් මාසේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ගෙනෙන්නේ. එතකොටමනි අපි හොඳ නැකතක් බලලා අපේ ජයග්‍රාහී අයවැය ලේඛනය ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා.
മന്ത്രിවරු ඉන්නවා, ඇමතිවරු නැහැ, ඇමතිවරු ඉන්නවා, මන්ත්‍රීවරු නැහැ.
All the wit and drama from Parliament coming up on the bulletin. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Joel Outscoon.
And I'm Florine Rajendran. Here's a look at your headlines tonight.
Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards, the Oscars of Sri Lankan sport launched in Colombo. Question time in Parliament leaves much to question. 2015 appropriation bill presented to Parliament. The reason for the UPFA's decline in UA. 55th death anniversary of the late SWRD Bandanayaka commemorated. MTV MBC Engineering Director Tharaka Mohoti becomes chairman of the IET Sri Lanka Network.
Fifteen rounds of questions posed in Parliament today in anticipation of oral responses concluded within about 10 minutes each, notwithstanding the fact that the appropriations bill was presented in Parliament today. In some instances, the MPs were not present to ask the questions, while in others, the ministers were not present to respond.
රශ්ලාංක පහගරු රෝෂි සේනානායක මහත්මිය සෞඛ්‍ය අමාත්‍යතුමාගේ නැසීමට
ආනගරු කතානායක
මාසයක් කල්ලිලනවා.
හයගරු සුජීව සේනසිංහ මහතා
සති දෙකක් කල්ලිලනවා.
යාපන අමාත්‍යතුමා
සති දෙකක් කල්ලිලනවා.
රශ්ලාංක 11 ගරු විජිත බේරුගොඩ මහතා රශ්ලාංක 12 ගරු අජිත් පෙරේරා මහතා රශ්ලාංක 13 ගරු තලත අතුකෝල මහත්මිය මන්ත්‍රීවරු ඉන්නවා ඇමතිවරු නැහැ ඇමතිවරු ඉන්නවා මන්ත්‍රීවරු නැහැ.
තුන්වෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේ
තුන්වෙනි ප්‍රශ්නය ගරු මුදල් හා ක්‍රම සම්පාදන අමාත්‍යතුමා
සති දෙකක් කල්ලිලනවා.
විජිත බේරුගොඩ මහතා
ආනෝ
වැඩිම අඩුම කාලයකින් ප්‍රශ්න සියල්ලම අවසන්.
Senior lecturers at the Sri Jawadhanpura University, Terence Purasinghe, notes that although parliamentarians are elected to put forward the problems of the people in the parliament, the absence of both ministers and MPs when these questions are taken up has become commonplace. When government ministers or MPs are not present in Parliament to respond to the questions of opposition MPs, we see it as a slight on democracy and a slight on the people's will. Government members have a duty and a responsibility to respond to the questions of opposition members. But today, tragically, while the agenda had granted 1 hour for question time, it finished in a matter of minutes. We see a deceitful effort on the part of these members to evade these questions.
Newsfirst Badula correspondent Chandana Kurupuarachi, who was attacked recently in Halyala, continues to receive treatment in hospital.
Chandra Kurupuarachi is being treated at a private hospital in Colombo. He has undergone several surgeries as a result of injuries he sustained during the attack. Newsfirst correspondent Chandra Kurupuarachi was attacked while attempting to cover a clash between two political groups in Halyala. The matter was brought to the attention of Parliament today. The brutal assault on the Sirasa journalist Chandana Kurupuarachi, he went through surgery yesterday. Doctors say that he will not be able to speak or eat for several weeks. This is because of the injuries to his face and mouth. He will be provided with saline for another 6 weeks. I believe that the government should bear up his medical expenses. I think the surgery will cost almost 2 million rupees.
The case has been taken up in the magistrate court. After it is over, compensation can be sought by the victim by filing a case with the civil court.
What I asked you was if the government could compensate his medical cost. I do not know if he can afford 2 or 3 million for legal matters. We have sought relief for him. You said journalists are liked by all. Compensate him. Senior Minister Taudu Seniviratne is of the opinion that the UPFL lost votes in the Uva Provincial Council poll as it put forward an unsuited candidate. The minister made this statement at an event held in Colombo today.
There are reductions and increases in the vote for 2 reasons. One is that the UNP candidate resigned from the parliament to contest. This was done to energize the campaign. We did not put forward a suitable candidate to face this. We put forward the same old faces. Relief was given to every home in Monragala, but it was not given to Badulla. People could have been upset by this as well. I have mentioned the service that was done. Everything was done, but you must meet with the people.
Coming up on the news tonight, a battle between the Sri Lankan commandos and the Red Island forces, a joint military training exercise.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa announced that Sri Lanka will be providing $1 million in financial assistance to Palestine. The donation was made in New York when the president called on Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. The meeting took place on the sidelines of the 69th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas had said that he and the people of Palestine appreciate the commitment and support of Sri Lanka and President Mahinda Rajapaksa towards Palestine and its people. President Abbas informed President Rajapaksa on the current status of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and also discussed the challenges faced by its people. President Mahinda Rajapaksa also called on Afghanistan's President-elect Ashraf Ghani Ahmadzai and congratulated him on his election. President Mahinda Rajapaksa had extended his best wishes on behalf of the Sri Lankan government and people. President Rajapaksa also added that Sri Lanka and Afghanistan can boost up many cultural links.
Today marks the 55th death anniversary of the 4th Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, the late SWRD Bandaranaike, who gave leadership to the social revolution of 1956.
The late SWRD Bandaranaike, who entered national politics as the Minister of Health and Local Government in the first cabinet of 1947, later left the United National Party and established the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Bandaranaike etched his name firmly onto the history books of Sri Lanka by uniting the people and laying the foundation for a social revolution. The voice he raised for the masses was silenced in 1959 by an assassin. The 55th commemoration of the death anniversary of the late Prime Minister was held at the Bandaranaike Memorial in Horagolla.
එතුමාගේ දර්ශනය
We must remember that his vision lives as a living force today and even in the future. We must all remember that his vision was carried forward successfully by Prime Minister Sirimavo Dias Ratwatha Bandaranaike. It is a cause of sadness that Anura Bandaranaike, who always successfully carried out the mighty task entrusted to him, was unable to continue his service. The lives of the world's first woman Prime Minister Sirimavo Bandaranaike and former Speaker Anura Bandaranaike were also commemorated at the event. Floral tributes were paid to the Bandaranaike Memorial. Governor of the Western Province, Alavi Maulana, paid floral tributes on behalf of President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Subsequently, a donation of wheelchairs was made to the disabled by the Western Province Social Services Department and the Bandaranaike Memorial Committee.
On behalf of the family, I wish to express our gratitude to the people of Attanagala. 55 years later, the people continue to come here, either by our invitation or without our invitation. For 55 years, on all 365 days of the year, the people have come here. We do not need to invite them. They come to pay their respects. We are truly grateful to this. We will never forget the respect the people have for the Bandaranaikas.
The Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards, the Oscars of Sri Lankan sport, yet another novel initiative by Sri Lanka's premier media network, was launched today. The media briefing to mark this major occasion was held in Colombo.
Some win, some lose, but a few change the game. Another first, a powerful initiative to reward and recognize Sri Lankan sports stars for their efforts in keeping the passion of sports alive in the hearts of millions of Sri Lankans. Newsfirst, in partnership with Mobitel, have partnered to launch the Platinum Awards, dubbed the Oscars of Sports Awards ceremonies in Sri Lanka, honoring athletes who have displayed exceptional talent, determination and dedication. The Platinum Awards will recognize sportsmen and women from many categories in a night of glitz, glamour and celebration of sporting performance. It's not just an award ceremony. A build-up to the awards night sets the Platinum Awards apart. A major roadshow in that will go through 30 locations across Sri Lanka will not just promote nominations but also the importance of sporting achievement. The Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards 2014 is a powerful initiative that aims to highlight the four pillars on which sports stars built their foundation to reach the zenith of success: dedication, devotion, discipline and determination. A distinguished gathering including veteran sportsmen and women and journalists graced the occasion of the launch, which was made colourful with a number of performances. A website dedicated for the Platinum Awards 2014 was also unveiled at the occasion. It is Sports First's purpose to not only introduce talented sportsmen and women to the national and international arena, but to also give them their due recognition. The Platinum Awards will also recognize talent at the school level, with awards being presented to the most talented school cricketer, the most talented school rugby player, and the best sports teacher. With the noble purpose of ensuring that sport is also promoted among outstation schools, Platinum Awards will be presented to the most talented school sportsman, the most talented school sportswoman, and the most talented school sports team. The awards also cover the sports of motor racing and cycling, with awards being presented to the most talented university sportsman or woman, the most talented security forces sportsman or woman, the most talented para-athlete, and also an award for the best comeback. Awards will also be presented for the Coach of the Year, Service to Sports, the most talented cricketer and the most talented woman cricketer. Awards will also be presented for the best sports club or sports team, the rising sportsman or woman of the year, the most popular Mobitel sportsman of the year, the sportswoman of the year, and the sportsman of the year. Applications and nominations for all awards, with the exception of the awards for service to sport and the most popular athlete, can be addressed to the Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards 2014, MTV MBC Head Office, 45/3, Braybrook Place, Colombo 2. The Sports First Mobitel Platinum Awards 2014, MTV MBC Head Office, 45/3, Braybrook Place, Colombo 2. The most popular sportsman and sportswoman of the year will be selected through an SMS poll.
A clash had broken out between two trade union groups of the State Printing Corporation a short while ago. The police media spokesperson says 8 people have been hospitalized. Newsfirst is closely monitoring the situation and will keep you up to date. The annual general meeting of the Institution of Engineering and Technology Sri Lanka Network was held in Colombo last evening.
The event saw a distinguished gathering representing all professions from the broad spectrum of the engineering and technology field in attendance. Tharaka Mohoti, Director Engineering of the MTV and MBC Media Network, was appointed Chairman of the Institution of Engineering and Technology Sri Lanka Network at the AGM.
It is my intention to continue the tradition of selfless individuals working through you all for the benefit of our profession. This year too, our program will cover themes which are vital to our profession moving forward. We will continue our work in the education sector, encouraging the promotion of the field of engineering through our younger generation. I look forward to working with everyone in a spirit of partnership and cooperation.
A proven multidiscipline major player in TV broadcasting with 26 years of experience, Tharaka Mohoti is also a specialist in digital broadcasting systems. He is a member of the Technical Executive Board of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union and a long-time chairman of the ABU Group on Training and Services.
Prime Minister D.M. Jayaratne presented the 2015 Appropriations Bill comprising the estimate of the government's expenditure next year, also known as the first reading of the budget in Parliament today. Estimated government expenditure for the year 2015 is 1,812.9 billion rupees.
The Appropriations Bill makes provisions for government expenditure for next year, including expenditure on government services and the obtaining of loans domestically and internationally. The expenditure head of the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development for the year 2015 has been noted as 285 billion rupees. The expenditure head for the Ministry of Highways, Ports and Shipping is 200 billion rupees. The expenditure head for the Ministry of Finance and Planning is 181 billion rupees, while the allocation for the Ministry of Economic Development is 113 billion rupees. The allocation for the Ministry of Health stands at 139 billion rupees, while the allocation for education is 96 billion rupees.
I hereby present a bill to arrange for any provisions to be made for the aforementioned points and any points that may arise during the course of the bill. The appropriation bill is usually presented in October. I wish to know if the reading of the budget, which traditionally happens in November, will be brought forward. There will be a debate in Parliament. As the opposition, you may present any submissions that you wish to make during the debate. We are not in violation of the parliamentary traditions. We are presenting the bill in line with the standing orders. We will not be reducing the time for debate in Parliament in any way. I asked you if you are hoping to present the budget in October. It usually happens in November. We will inquire into an auspicious time and we will present our victorious budget. Be patient. There is no problem.
Sounds of bullets, artillery fire and even jets were frequent for a period of 30 years before 2009. That was a time when brutal terrorists terrorized the nation, yet the armed forces fought relentlessly to rid it from the country.
Exercise Cormorant Strike 5 2014 was designed by the Sri Lanka Army to enhance special operation capabilities and maintain combat readiness at all levels. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farizan was at the exercise and got a first-hand experience on combat operations when the Sri Lankan commandos destroyed the Red Island forces.
A hovering military helicopter breaks the silence of the calm ocean in the east of the country as commandos of the Blue Island Army drop down into an inflatable rubber raft. Their objective: destroy the camp of their enemy, the Red Island Force. Although this was only a field training exercise, the commandos faced resistance from the Red Island forces, who were surrounded from all sides. The commandos were not alone. Attack craft from the Sri Lanka Navy arrived for their assistance. Within minutes, 4 Navy vessels reached the shores with reinforcements. The resistance were no match for the commandos, who broke through the defensive positions of the enemy and moved in. Making the mission a complete success, Kafir and F-7 fighter jets bombed enemy positions after the commandos had cleared the area. For almost 3 decades, these areas in the east and as well as the north were battered by a brutal war that cost many lives. What you just witnessed was the field training exercise of Special Forces and Commandos of Cormorant Strike 5, a training that enhances and showcases the might of our 3 armed forces, the Army, the Navy and the Air Force. With a total of 41 foreign service personnel from Brazil, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal and Maldives, either as participants or observers in the operation, exercise Cormorant Strike 5 2014, together with the record service personnel of the Army, Navy and Air Force participating, took place on the eastern shores of Erabur in the eastern province. The Commando military exercise of Cormorant Strike 5 2014 was presided by the Commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Dairat Naika, and other senior brass of the Army, Navy and Air Force.
Ceylon Today and Maubima newspapers' mosquito repellent newspaper won the first ever gold medal for Sri Lanka at the Spikes Asia 2014 in Singapore today. Ceylon Today and Maubima newspapers also won 4 silver awards at the competition. Saranga Vijayaratne, Director Marketing of Ceylon Newspapers Private Limited, joins us with more details.
We heard a short while ago one of world's biggest creativity award ceremonies, Spikes Asia in Singapore. The mosquito repellent newspaper that we co-create with Leo Burnett Solutions from Maubima and Ceylon Today newspapers has won a gold award and also 4 silver awards. And this is the first time Sri Lanka have ever won a gold award at this prestigious award ceremony. And within the last 3 years, we have won global and local awards for the innovations that we have done in our newspaper. So this will be the latest addition to our tally.
A book titled Maritime Boundaries in the Indian Ocean, Sri Lanka and the Law of the Sea was launched in Colombo last evening.
The launch of the book, authored by legal expert Dr. Nirmala Chandra Hassan, the wife of S.C. Chandra Hassan and daughter-in-law of the late S.J.V. Shelvanayagam, was attended by a distinguished gathering of politicians, intellectuals and representatives of civil society, including opposition leader Ranil Wickramasinghe. Justice C.G. Veeramanthi, former Vice President of the International Court of Justice, was the chief guest at the event.
So when we look at the Pork Straits and Gulf of Mannar area, India and Sri Lanka should be actually cooperating in the conservation and management of these seas. On the other hand, where fisheries are concerned, they can work out some kind of cooperative arrangements. So I think in relation to that part of the seas, we have to cooperate with India and work out some solutions.
Sri Lanka became the first South Asian country to access an innovative form of World Bank financing that provides immediate payouts after a major catastrophe such as tsunami, cyclone or flood. This was revealed at the Climate Resilience Program for Sri Lanka that was launched in Colombo this morning.
The program was launched today at the BMICH by the Government of Sri Lanka with the assistance of the World Bank in order to enhance and develop climate resilience. The launch was attended by representatives of the World Bank, the Ministry of Disaster Management and the Ministry of Irrigation and Water Management.
And now natural hazards.
Catastrophe Deferred Drawdown Option, CAT-DDO. I know the term is hard to encompass, for about $102 million. Now this CAT-DDO is a new instrument, it's a contingent instrument which provides immediate liquidity to the government in the case of a disaster. And Sri Lanka is in fact the first country in South Asia, in the South Asia region, to use this facility. It's a contingent instrument, meaning that we hope never to have to use it, but we have it in place for the case where it would be needed. And what it gives is the capacity within 3 days for the government to respond to an emergency by accessing cash in large quantities to respond to the emergency. So we hope never to use it, but it's good to have it in place.
The governments of Australia and Cambodia inked a refugee deal at Phnom Penh today. The Memorandum of Understanding will see genuine refugees sent to Cambodia from Australian-run detention centre on Nauru as early as the end of the year.
Speaking to News First early in the day, immigration correspondent for the Sydney Morning Herald, Sarah White, said that the 157 asylum seekers who are currently detained in Nauru could be among the 1,000 refugees sent to Cambodia if they are evaluated as refugees. Few details of the plan have been released, but it would initially apply to asylum seekers being processed on Australia's offshore detention centre on the tiny Pacific island of Nauru. It has a similar facility in Papua New Guinea under a policy criticised by the United Nations. Former Chief Justice of the Family Court, Alistair Nicholson, the spokesperson for the alliance, said Cambodian non-government organizations have advised the plan would overwhelm an already struggling welfare sector and exploit one of the poorest nations in Southeast Asia. The criticism comes despite Cambodia and Australia keeping details of the agreement secret. Human Rights Watch said the agreement does not meet Australia's commitment to send refugees to a safe third country and will undermine refugee protection in the region.
Moving on to some sports news now. Coach of the Sri Lanka national cricket team, Marvin Athapatha, says that the number of victories and losses of matches cannot be used as a parameter to deem someone a successful coach. He made this statement at a press conference that was held after he assumed the position of national head coach.
Well, now journalists who gathered at the media briefing that was held at the Sri Lanka cricket premises raised questions on the agreements linked between the national head coach and Sri Lanka cricket.
ඒක කොන්දේසියක් තිබෙනවද සෑහීමකට පත් නොවුනොත් ඔබ වසර දෙකකට කලින් ඉවත් කරන්න පුළුවන් කියලා.
මට ඇත්තටම ගිවිසුමක් මම තාම දැක්කේ නැහැ.
I still haven't seen an agreement. I believe there remains an exit clause on both ways as in any agreement. A clause that could allow my exit in turn, which could be worked out the other way around. They can decide to not receive my service. I expect that like I would from any agreement.
ඔබතුමා පැවසුවා තාමත් ගිවිසුම දැකලා නැහැ කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ ගිවිසුම බලන්නේ නැතුවද රස්සාව බාරගෙන තියෙන්නේ.
I was not provided with an agreement the first time I assumed duties as the national head coach on a prior occasion. Once the former coach decided to leave abruptly, I decided to take up the position because of the passion and desire I share. I have instilled my absolute trust on the cricket board. I believe that the agreement will have no loopholes like any other agreement. In more sports news, the Sri Lanka women's cricket team won the bronze medal, defeating the Chinese women's team in the 17th Asian Games women's cricket competition.
Sri Lanka faced China in the third place playoff to emerge victorious in Incheon.
The China women's team winning the toss opted to bat first but failed to put on a solid score in their allotted 20 overs. Opening the batting, Yu Miavo scored 26 runs for the Chinese. Madhuri Samudika bagged 2 wickets while Inoka Ranavira also bagged 2 wickets. The China women's innings was restricted to 65 runs, losing 6 wickets in 20 overs.
Ross, you might get it if this is caught.
The first wicket in the Sri Lankan reply fell before scoring. Chamari Atapattu scored 16 runs while Shashikala Sirivardhana and Dirani Manodara scored 12 runs each. The Sri Lankan women's team scored the required runs and went on to win in 17.1 overs with 5 wickets remaining.
From the re-election of the Prime Minister of New Zealand to the exodus of Kurdish refugees to the UN General Assembly in New York, there are numerous events across the globe this past week that captured the headlines. Compiling all of this into a comprehensive bulletin is a tall task faced by journalists across the world. But sometimes a picture can speak 1,000 words.